Hey there, emerging expat. You're tuned in to Let's Move to Portugal. I'm Victoria from Expats Everywhere's podcast, and I have the distinct honor of bringing you, YouTube travelers, and our resident of Portugal experts, Expats Everywhere's Josh and Kalie. Each week they'll inspire, they'll educate, and they'll accompany you on your journey to Portuguese residency. This week on Let's Move to Portugal, Kalie and Rafael discuss the current state of the housing market in Portugal, including practical advice for homebuyers and the benefits of working with a mortgage broker. To keep this podcast going strong, we've included a few brief ads. Thanks for supporting us by listening.
One of the most important pre-move things to consider involves your finances. Here's the cool thing. If you've moved already, it's not too late.
Yeah, that's right, because we met John a little late in our journey, but he certainly helped us make sure that we're on the right track.
John McNerney from Green Ocean Advisors is an American living in Lisbon with an office in San Francisco, which helps him have a pulse on both sides of the pond. John helps people understand where they're at before they take the plunge and move abroad.
As a financial advisor, John can help you understand your financial position no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you're curious about what your realistic retirement date is or how to invest your money post-retirement.
His love for finance and the differences between US and Europe have given him the ability to guide his clients in the right direction when it comes to investing and allocating funds. For example, you might want to sell your house before you become a tax resident here in Portugal, so you're not paying additional taxes here.
Josh and I have even talked to him on several occasions about some major life events that have happened to us and how to navigate them smartly from a financial perspective. If you'd like to be put in touch with John from Green Ocean Global, click on his Calendly link below to schedule a free consultation that he provides our viewers to see if he's the right fit for you.
Just make sure that you choose the Expats Everywhere intro call for your free consultation. Hey expats and travelers alike, welcome back to Expats Everywhere Presents Let's Move to Portugal podcast. Kalie, we're still out of Portugal actually.
Yes, we're traveling. So if the audio sounds a little different, then it's because we're in a hotel room and we don't have our awesome podcasting mics right now. But this will be the last week of that, I think.
It will be, and hang tight. If you don't want to listen to the weekly welcome, which lasts between 5 and 10 minutes, we've put chapters so you can skip ahead if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to it on a podcast platform, just arrow a bit, scroll a few.
I think we'll make this one kind of quick though.
Yeah, we've got our daughter Valencia in the background, headphones on, watching something so we can cut this intro for you all. So it's been an amazing last week and a half or so of traveling. We've seen kind of a lot of this region and gotten a real sample of what is happening between Austria, Slovenia. We're going to head to Slovakia in a couple of days. Croatia. So it's been cool.
So I think Croatia has been interesting because we do know that it is on some of your radars as a potential place to live because of the cost of living being a little lower. There's a lot of pros to living there. So we had never been. It was our first time in Zagreb, and actually Zagreb surprised me. At first it was a bit like, I don't know, but it really grew on me. So we'll unpack that as well when we do. We'll definitely do a city guide about Croatia, but we want to explore more of Croatia as a potential place that maybe you're looking either to travel to or maybe move. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I would say about Zagreb, though. It's not the place, I think, when most people think about Croatia and what draws people to Croatia. I don't think it's that place.
No, I think it's more along the water, right?
Absolutely.
That's why we want to explore a little more along the water, those cities definitely. But I don't know. I was digging Zagreb. It took a little time, but I was actually digging it. So
you were digging it.
Yeah, but that's not what this podcast is about. Anyway, so travel-wise, we'll do some videos that we'll put on Expats Everywhere Explorers, just giving you a feel of different places around Europe that we visited. We will do some comparisons on the podcast to compare some of the Portuguese cities to where we've been. So we've been talking about that. So that's kind of stuff that's coming up. We've been on break on the main channel just these past couple weeks of August, but we will start again in September. So videos will be coming out there. So that's kind of been what's going on with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of Portugal specific news, there have been a lot of fires in both Portugal and Spain. We hope that those are under control fast. It's fire season.
Yeah,
it's wildfire season, and it just seems every year around this time they hit usually pretty hard. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that is. But on a higher note, FC Porto is doing a lot better so far this season. So
yes,
we're very excited to be seeing them and seeing how they're doing. So that's exciting.
And Sporting has not dropped off. And maybe it's a bit early days to talk about Benfica.
Yeah.
They've only played 2 matches. So that's your roundup for what's happening in the Portuguese soccer league.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and chat about what this episode's going to be about. I think that it's definitely a good one. We've had Rafael on before. He's a mortgage broker. He's the mortgage broker that we personally used, and we love him. We send everyone to him. Yeah. What I really like about what a mortgage broker should do in Portugal, and what Rafael definitely does, is you as the client do not pay him. It's the bank that pays him. So you give him all the documents he asks for, and he goes to the different banks. He fights for you on what would be the best option for a mortgage, and the cool thing is you don't pay anything for it. So I think that's awesome.
I think, on top of that, it's a pretty heavily bureaucratic process. Like, we experienced that ourselves with document gathering and all that stuff. And very much a mortgage broker will help get your documents together. I mean, obviously you've got to source the documents and turn those in, but there's a list of things that a mortgage broker will need, and Rafael provides that list, and then he puts the documents together and presents that stuff to the bank. So you're not having to do that for like every bank by bank by bank. It's like that's his job. Mm-hmm. So I think in those terms, mortgage brokers can help out tremendously.
Yeah, because we've bought and sold in the U.S. and the process is a little different.
Yeah.
So even if you've done it in the U.S. or in your home country, it's going to be different in different countries. So having someone who is in your corner and knows what they're doing can just expedite things and help you find the best deal as well, and also alleviate the headaches.
Yeah, absolutely. And last thing I just want to talk about mortgages real quick is I have talked to so many people in the last 6 to 12 months about what's been going on with kind of the housing market, and that's not really what this episode is about.
We do talk about it.
You talk about it, but it's that's not the heart of the episode. Mm-hmm. However, I just want to say, if you're watching this thinking about, is now the time to buy? Should I buy? Now's always the time to buy, just in the sense that if you find a place that you can afford and that you like, go ahead and lock it up at the price that you want to pay. Because everybody thought from 2020, certainly in 2021, that Portugal was going to have, a bubble burst. And then it was 2022 happened. And then 2023 is when the big prediction was that the bubble was going to burst. And it just hasn't. It's just continued to rise. Now, things seem to be cooling a little bit, but not dropping. It's just they're plateauing a bit in certain areas, while other areas are still seeing growth. So it's
how do you predict that?
Do you just continue to wait and put that thing off? So yeah, you've probably clicked on this with some sort of interest in buying. So if you need to get a mortgage, we just recommend getting a mortgage broker and getting that done.
Right, so Rafael and I do talk about a little of the housing market, where it's been, and a bit what's on the horizon, what's coming. I mean, obviously neither of us have a crystal ball, but kind of trying to not predict, but see what's happening with the housing market and what it looks like. And then of course we talk about the favorable interest rates. That's something that's really big in Portugal right now. He gives an update pretty much, because we've had him on the podcast before and on the main channel. And right now we just, we're middle of 2025, actually going into Q3 soon. We need an update. What's going on with housing in Portugal, and mortgages and prices and interest rate and all that fun stuff. So Rafael and I unpack that.
Yeah, and I would say last thing is the biggest thing I think that's impacted a lot of people has been what the dollar to euro has done. Mm-hmm. So that's something else that it's really difficult to predict. So you kind of have to take into consideration, what does the dollar and euro historically
the trend? I guess
what does it normally trend at? Mm-hmm. In terms of the transfer rate. And we're kind of at the 10-year historical average, but the past year it's been awesome if you've had USD and you're turning it over into euro. And those people that have moved thinking of that time period where one US dollar was 95 euro cents, and now it's 80 or whatever, it hurts worse.
Yeah, that is hard. So actually, speaking about that really quickly, if you're looking for resources because maybe you do want to buy in Portugal or in Europe, and you're looking for a mortgage broker or a lawyer or a realtor, or actually transferring the money over, we have all those really good resources that we vetted and used personally. So you can definitely email me at info@expatseverywhere.com for that. But what I do like about the one company where you can transfer the money is you can send the money over and have it kind of waiting, and they can help you not time time it, but better like track what's going on with the exchange and go ahead and make that exchange at a good time, rather than if you're ready to buy a house and you're like, okay, I'm sending the money over now, and you literally need like the CPCV money now. Well, you don't get to choose what the actual exchange is there, so it could be a big hit if it's a big chunk of money. So kind of being prepared, having that ready to go now, so when you do find the place, it could work in your favor to save some cash.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
All
right, now let's chat with Rafael.
on to the show. We know that relocating can be stressful. Trust us, Portugal is the 5th country we've relocated to.
So it's nice to have someone helping you out, which is why we can confidently recommend Global International Relocation, which is a leading provider of relocation, moving, and mobility services.
They can support individuals, families, and even businesses when it comes to moving internationally.
I like how they're able to simplify the relocation process, and they help with everything you can think of, and actually even those things that you don't think of.
Of course, you have the immigration side of things, but there are aspects like pet relocation, shipping your car, moving household goods, and settling in that are all things they assist with. They're really comprehensive when it comes to mobility.
With over 17 years of experience and having expertise in over 180 countries, they aren't just for your move to Portugal.
So for personalized assistance, visit global.pt or get in touch with us for an introduction and to receive a personalized relocation quote.
Rafael, thanks for joining me again on the podcast. We've had you before because you helped us get our mortgage, and you help a lot of people get mortgages, and I want to talk about that. But we're going to talk a little bit about the housing market, the interest rates, and give an update to our listeners on what's going on. So welcome back to the podcast.
Sure, Kalie. Thank you very much for having me here again. It's a pleasure always to be in this podcast. So thank you very much. Yes, let's talk about what is currently happening in the market.
Yes. So tell us, how is the housing market right now around Portugal?
Well, the housing market in Portugal, in 2025, is still very active, though it's not as crazy as a couple of years ago. You know, Kalie, since 2021, prices were going up very fast all over the country, especially in Lisbon and the Algarve. Of course, you already know that. Now things are more stable, I think. We're not seeing prices crash, but they have slowed down a bit, okay? So in places like Lisbon, main neighborhoods, Cascais, and some Algarve towns, it's still very much a seller's market, okay? But as we don't have much supply, as you all know, our problem here is inventory. Although this is a problem, let's say, in the entire country, if you go outside the big cities, like into the interior regions or smaller coastal towns, it's becoming a bit more buyer's market. In 25, I'm feeling like that. Okay. Because sellers there can be a little more flexible on prices and we can negotiate better deals.
Okay. So mainly the big cities are still pretty hot for sellers, but if you're looking to buy and you don't want to be in a big city, if you find a place maybe like along the Silver Coast between Lisbon and Porto, are prices there looking good for buyers?
I think it's still with Lisbon and with Lisbon, let's say, exploding. Porto was the big next great option and only option, because we have only two big cities here. To work and everything. So it's Porto and Lisbon. So with Lisbon so expensive, Porto is the next answer. And for those who doesn't need to be close to a big city, the Silver Coast, the region between Porto and Lisbon, is the one that is flourishing right now, I think. So all the cities like Caldas, Óbidos, Foz do Orelho, Figueira da Foz, even Aveiro, Granja, a lot of little cities. Oh, and the cities close to Gaia, like Rio Tinto and Gondomar, are also good options right now. So you can have a more affordable prices there.
So you're seeing more people go to those areas rather than the two big cities and finding fairly good deals?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So it's still quite possible to get, maybe if someone wants to be by the beach, maybe, I don't know about beachfront property, but close to the beach, more affordable housing would probably be along the Silver Coast rather than in Lisbon and Porto.
For sure, Kalie. You can find excellent options still in Figueira da Foz, in all this region called the Silver Coast. Also in Setúbal, I think it's a very good option because, of course, in Comporta, these regions are more expensive. But if you're not very close to the beach, as you said, you can find excellent deals there. Also, how can I say, properties that are under construction that will be delivered in the next 2 years. So you can find this at a very good price right now. So this could be good options, okay, right now.
So like new builds, like when you buy like the plan and then they're being built, like those are still good prices? Okay. Because a couple years ago, economists and such had talked about how the bubble was going to burst here, that because the housing had gotten out of control. Did you see any of that, or has it remained fairly steady?
Good question, Kelly. There was a mistake at the time by these rumors, let's say, because they didn't analyze the inventory here. If we compare Portugal on how much units were being constructed 25 years ago, it's much more. It's like 3 times than today. Okay, I don't know exactly the reason. I'm guessing it's tax reasons. But in the 2000s, they were delivering, let's suppose they are delivering 400, 500 units per year. Now they are delivering 200. So it's a big difference. Just now that we need so much, because the demand is so high, we need so much this inventory, we're not getting this in time. It was like a big wave. This demand was like a big wave coming after the big recession of 2008 that was here until 2012, 2013. So when people come back, Portuguese and foreigners trying to buy properties here, we didn't have the stock, the inventory necessary to provide the supply for this huge demand. Okay, but I think in general the market is healthy, more balanced than before. People are still very interested in Portugal for sure. Both for living and investing. So I think Portugal is still and will be for the next years like a good shot for investing in Europe, as you say. Okay.
Okay. Well, we're going to get through the process in a second because I want to run through for the listener, how the mortgage process works. But first, I think what's really important to talk about is the interest rate here, because it's quite favorable, especially compared to the US. So can you tell us what are current interest rates? How does it compare to last year? And what's that looking like right now?
Excellent, Kalie. Interest rates, we are in a very good moment right now. 2 years ago, you've seen that the rates at the time were around 4%, the best rates we could have. 4%, the mixed rates for 5 years were 2%. Now they dropped to 2.7. Okay, let me try to explain this. If you go for a variable rate, which is tied to the Euribor, the Fed fund here in Europe, it's right. This rate is right now around 2%. Okay, and I think this is a very low level. We don't expect this to go much lower than that. Okay, as like 10 years ago, I think we are in a very good plateau right now. Okay, and then in this 2%, the bank adds a spread, I don't know, 0.5, 0.7, let's say. So you end up with an effective variable rate around 2.7. Okay, but why would you do that if you can fix this rate for 5 years at the same 2.7, the so-called mixed rate? So this is fixed first for a period of time, and then a variable rate for the rest of the period. Okay. And you can also refinance it as soon as you enter into the variable rate period again. Okay, so I think these are pretty decent rates, and you can right now have a 2.7 until 2030 or 2031 with a 2.7 fixed rate, and then of course this rate will turn variable, and then you can stay in the variable rate, or you can try to refinance it again or refix it again for a good rate at the time. Okay. But by the way, the best strategy here is not touch the mortgage for 5 years. Then once it turns variable, you go there and amortize. You make an early payment to reduce the debt with a lower penalty, and then you refix it again for more 5 years. This lower debt. Okay. This is all what we try to instruct our clients to do. Okay.
Okay. So this is common. This is a common thing to do in Portugal.
Oh, they do this a lot, Kalie. The Portuguese, the foreigners, they are every 5 or 3 years they are shopping around to see if they have a best option. So changing from one bank to another is very common here in Portugal. They call it credit transfers, or they migrate the credit to another bank.
And do you assist with that if someone wants to change?
Yeah, of course, for sure.
Okay. Okay. So you can help if someone's looking to change, but they can also help from the very beginning, the whole process.
Yeah, for sure, Kalie. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about what that process looks like. So if someone is looking to, maybe they've identified a property or they don't even have a property yet, but they want to figure out how much they could get from a mortgage, you can at any time get pre-approved, right?
Yeah, the pre-approval is not a final approval. It's like a comfort letter. So the bank will check based on the documents and the intention of the client and the savings that the client has. The bank will analyze debt to net income ratio, source of income, this kind of thing, and we'll say, okay, if you want a property of 400,000, we can finance 80% of this, so 320,000 for in this example. Okay, then with this comfort letter, the client starts searching to the property. Okay, these proposals are valid for a very short time, but you don't have to worry. You just search the market. If you don't change your level of income and your indebtment, you're going to be approved exactly as the comfort letter. So you shop around, you find the properties. Once you find the property, you call me or saying, Rafael, we found the property. We want to go with Bank B, and then we start the final procedure, that is making an evaluation of the property, call it appraisal, and then the final approval. The final approval only happens with the property. Okay, so it's like pre-approval, comfort letter, then the appraisal, and then the final approval. After the appraisal report here is a critical moment in a good way, because the appraisal report will show that you are approved, you know exactly how much the loan will be, and that all documents are checked and in order. Okay, and that's a great thing of having the bank by your side, because the bank will check all these in details if there is any debt on the property or any claim on the property. Okay, so it's a guarantee that you are buying something that is 100% legally and everything is in its place.
Okay, which makes sense. The bank doesn't want to get into a bad deal, so they're going to do their research and due diligence as well.
Exactly, Kalie.
Yeah. Okay, so if someone doesn't have the property yet and they just want to figure out how much I can be approved for, that's why you would go ahead and do the pre-approval. So it's that letter that says, okay, here are the different banks and here are what they would offer you. And then you have an idea in your head how much you can get a mortgage for, and then you can go look for the property, right?
Exactly. We have two limitators here. First is the down payment, 20%. So, because usually, let me rephrase this. Usually the bank will not give you the maximum possible. We have to give them a number. You say, we want to buy a property. If you want to know how high you can go, you put the maximum property that you want, based on the 20% down payment, and the monthly payment should not surpass 45% of your net salary. Okay?
Okay.
So these are the two limitators. So based on that, you can say, okay, I can go to up to a property up to 500,000, and then you say this to the bank, and then the bank will approve you to 500 for a property of 500, and then everything in this range will be pre-approved. If you find a property of 300 or 400 or 350, doesn't matter. You are pre-approved. You have the comfort letter that allows you to go to whatever property you want. Okay. And with this amount pre-approved, you can go in three ways. You can go for a ready-to-move property. You can go for a not so new property plus renovation. The bank can finance this renovation. You can also buy a piece of land and construct from zero. Of course, this is more complicated, but you can do that. This is more, usually the residents prefer this more than non-residents, because how a non-resident will be checking all the works and etc. here. So it's more difficult for non-residents. But once they are residents here, it's a good option to construct. You pay less taxes on the construction, a lot of things that we can discuss this later. And you can also buy a property that is under construction that will be delivered in 2 years. The only thing here is that you make the CPCV now, the promissory contract now, and we just enter with the bank in 2 years. So the bank will not lock the rates right now for you for 2 years. So you have to get the rates that we're gonna happen in 2 years, and we don't know which they are.
Okay,
So
I
it's a
see.
little bit more risky, but it's totally doable. A lot of people are doing that.
Okay, that makes sense.
You can also gain a little bit on the appreciation of the price of the property, because usually when you buy on the plan, you buy all this risk of the construction, etc. So when the property is 2 years later, when the building is up, everything is ready, the property value is much more.
Right. Okay,
you can
that's
also
the
gain
good and the bad, I guess, of like the new builds,
exactly.
right?
You pay
Yeah.
you pay for the risk. When you buy something ready, you pay for this risk. You pay a little more, but everything is ready to go. So you can you can show all the documents to the bank, close the deeds, sign the deed, and the property will be yours right away.
Okay. Now, what happens if you get pre-approved for, let's say, 500,000, but then you find your dream home and it's 530,000? Is it possible that then you input that number and they might approve you for it, or you end up paying that in cash?
Yeah, for sure. It's just a little adjustment we have to do. We can consult us quickly. Sometimes the clients call me saying, Rafael, I love this property. It's like 50,000 or 100,000 more. Can we check with the bank? And we can check with the bank in 1 or 2 days maximum. We can give you the answer.
Okay.
These pre-approvals, the comfort letter are this is very quick to do.
Okay.
This is just a matter of checking the system, the debt to net income, this kind of thing. Sorry, Katie.
No, that's fine. So it kind of just makes me think, we talk a lot about bureaucracy in Portugal and how things are slow or backed up. So how fast are they processing? How fast do banks process this?
This comfort letter I can give you in less than a week. With the comfort letter, you find the property. Once you find the property, then we have to make the appraisal and the final approval. This can take like 2 weeks. Because we have to open an account, deposit an amount for the appraisal. We have to schedule an appraisal. Not me, but an expert, an independent certified appraiser will go to the property to analyze this. The bank doesn't have much control on this, not to have conflict of interest. So that's why sometimes it takes a little longer than expected, because we cannot control, we cannot interfere much on the appraiser and on the appraisal report. We just can ask for more for them to be more quick and deliver the report as soon as possible. Once we have the appraisal report, we send to the risk department. So this go for a higher level for the risk department for the final approval. And then is more 1 week. So in 2 weeks, we can make the final approval and the final appraisal and approval. After that, it's just bureaucratic things like we have to issue the letters of credit, gather all the documents for the deed, and then schedule the deed. But I think the critical moment is the appraisal, because the appraisal, once you have the appraisal and the number is good, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to be approved and everything will run smoothly from that moment on.
Okay. So would you advise that our listeners, if they're even thinking about purchasing a property, to just go ahead and get pre-approved, because then if they find something, the process might be a little faster?
It will be much faster, because when you have the comfort letter, the bank has all your documents already. It's a matter of updating, let's say, one page stub or maybe a position of your credit report, and you move right away for the approval. You don't have to collect a letter from the company, ask for the human resources or the manager for a letter. This can take a little time. So the basic documents will be already there in the bank. So it's just a matter of little adjustment, little updates to move forward. It's much more quick for sure.
Okay. So let's talk about the process then. What kinds of documents do you have to show the bank to get a mortgage here?
Usually, Kalie, the banks request 6 documents. The passports, and this is very important. I will stress this again. You don't need to have a Portuguese passport. You don't need to declare taxes in Portugal. You don't need to have an European passport to buy a property in Portugal. You can finance up to 80% with income from abroad, from the US, from the UK, from Australia, from whatever country you want. You have your income. So the documents are passports, income tax from your home country, last 3 or 6 months of pay stubs and bank statements, credit report, an Equifax or equivalent in the country, and a letter from the company saying that you have a full-time basis job. Very simple. Okay. With these 6 documents, I can pre-approve you and later approve you. Okay.
Okay.
The documents will not change. Rarely they will ask more than that. Okay. Sometimes they ask a 7th one, that is the proof of funds that you have the 20% for down payment. Okay. If you want to send this early, you can do, but sometimes you don't have the 20% already, so you can quote why you are gathering the 20% for the down payment. You don't need to show this right away. For the quotations, no problem. But later, once you move forward, you need to show the 7th document, that is the proof of funds. So saving accounts or investments that you have can be in your name, or even sometimes in the family, when it's in a family, with a parent or a relative, sometimes they accept this also.
Okay. Does it have to be like that 7th document? Can it be like if it's a little tied up in like a 401k or something like that, or it needs to be like in a bank account that can easily be moved?
It's like that. The 401k is like because usually here, Kalie, in Portugal, the banks are very rigid, so they will only accept income coming from a job or from a company. Okay. So
okay.
Either you have a job where you receive a salary every month, a regular job, or you have a company that you distribute prolabores and dividends every month. If you don't, if the business owner doesn't distribute these amounts every month, it can be a problem. Sometimes when they distribute, let's say quarterly, the banks can accept this. But if they distribute like just in December the whole amount, it's a problem. Okay. So the best thing, if you're listening to that right now, is prepare your monthly payments from the entity to your personal bank accounts, because doesn't matter if the company has a revenue of millions. If the company is not distributing to your personal accounts, the bank will not give you the loan. Okay.
So
this is a very big mistake. Sometimes the clients take this for granted. So they think my numbers in my business are great, so I'm gonna get the loan. But if you're not distributing this to your personal bank accounts, it can be a problem.
Okay. So in preparation for purchasing a property, what's the best thing you could do is, like, if you have an investment, so if you're not drawing off of it, start drawing off of it, getting monthly distributions, at least for how long? 3 months, 6 months?
6 months is great, but after 3 months can be considered. Okay. We can explain to the banks that we have a new, since this moment, the business owner is distributing these amounts regularly, so it can be accepted. 6 months is more guaranteed. 6 months. It's more, these are more guaranteed.
Now, someone who's actively working, you said that you need a letter from your company. If you have a work contract, does that suffice, or does the company need to write you a letter about your salary?
Usually they don't request the work contract. They want a letter, very updated from this month, saying that you have a current job at the company. Okay, but it's very simple. You don't have to say the reason or anything. In some companies, you can get this online. Okay. Or you have to ask for the HR or something like that.
And if you're not working, if you have a financial advisor, your financial advisor can write a letter for you as well for something like this?
This is more complicated, but we can overcome that. If you have a company if you invoice your clients through a company, this is a much better situation. So the company invoices your clients and the company pays you like a salary. You can distribute from your company. When you invoice your clients directly, this is more complicated because it's to be like a self-employed. Okay. They will really consider you as a self-employed. But if you show regularity and constancy in the payments, it can be approved. Why not?
Okay. Are those who are retired, who aren't working for a company, is it hard to get a mortgage, or it's not that hard?
No, not at all. Except for the age sometimes, because the age limit is 75. So someone in the 60s, or someone with 60 years old will have a 15-year term, sometimes with an extension if they can put more down payment.
Okay.
But yeah, as you were saying, the 401k or any other pension, social security, all these will be accepted for sure.
Okay. So mainly the bank, just like anywhere, wants to see that you have money and that it's stable, right?
Exactly. And nothing's more stable than a pension.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, good. Great. All right. So that's exciting. So someone gets pre-approved. They start looking for their house. They then find it. They call you. They say, we're ready to go. And then at that point, you go through the rest of the process. And I mean, it takes a couple months, I guess, for someone to get the mortgage and then like obviously closing and everything.
Yeah, usually with the comfort letter, what takes a while sometimes is the search for the property. Okay, so we have like a gap here. The client comes, make the consultation, goes away, and then come back 4 or 5 months later.
Yeah,
because it took a while for them to find the property. But once they come, we can finish the process in a maximum of 2 months. Okay.
Okay.
45 to 60 days. Okay.
Okay. So that's
Since you
good for
signed the
them to know.
CPCV.
Yeah, that's good for them to know, like to get a time frame of like when they do sign the CPCV, making sure that they give themselves enough time for the mortgage process to go through.
Important, of course, to have good people around you, like a good broker, a good agent, a good lawyer to instruct you with the little things. The process seems similar, but with little details, like as we mentioned in other conversations about we don't have the escrow account here, so avoid to pay the 10% to the seller before having the appraisal report. Okay. Because until the appraisal report, we are in a gray area. We don't know if the documents are okay, if everything will go right. But in Portugal, it's pretty common for them to pay the 10%, get the documents, and go to the appraisal. If the appraisal goes wrong by any mean, they have to ask for reimbursement of money. I don't like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I advise you don't pay before. Don't pay the earnest amount, or at least give a very little deposit just to guarantee the property until we can make the appraisal and the approval of your process. As I said, 2 weeks it will take.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. What other advice do you have for those wanting to purchase a property and with a mortgage? Because that's probably something that a lot of people don't know. If it's common to give the 10%, but you say you don't have to. So let's try to mitigate that, because it could be a pain if you give the money, the appraisal goes wrong, and then trying to get that money back could be a problem. So that's good to know that. What other advice would you give for someone?
Yeah, my piece of advice is don't rush. Do your homework. Get your pre-approval sorted first, so you can get you know your budget. Always work with an independent lawyer. Don't just trust the seller's agent or the seller or even the lawyer provided by the seller's agent. This way you avoid conflict of interest. Okay. A lawyer will check who owns the property, if there is debts attached or any legal issues. The bank will also check that, but the lawyer can be very important, especially for non-residents. Okay. The lawyer will be representing you here from the beginning to end. Also, I understand that also you have to understand that buying costs are not just the price of the property. You have the IMT tax, stamp duty, legal fees, and so on, which can easily be a 6% extra depending on the property. Okay.
And
What
that
else?
you pay upfront, right?
You don't pay
pay
upfront.
that?
You pay on the
Okay.
date of the deed, on the closing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I
But
think
you
that's
cannot
something that.
But you cannot input this into the mortgage. So you have to come with 20% for down payment plus 6% on the closing. So in the end, it's 26%, let's say, roughly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's really good, because I think that a lot of people don't know that. So they come in with their mind thinking like this 20% number, but then they can really get caught out by it's actually 6% more on that. And if they don't have the cash readily available, then it can be kind of stressful. So kind of knowing that you have to pay those as well at the signing of the deed.
Exactly. Usually when we start our first conversation with the client, we explain all this. Usually I make a 1 hour video meeting with the client where I explain all the situations, make simulations, calculate all the closing costs. So the client knows exactly how much they will pay, because not mention that is it's very complicated sometimes. You have to know exactly everything that you're going to pay until the end, of course.
That's good. And are these calls free for clients who want to understand how it works?
You mean if it's free, the service?
Yeah, to talk to you?
Yeah, totally free. Our service, our service is free. The banks will pay us after the deed. So if we're going to guide you from the beginning to end. After the deed, if everything goes well, we receive a success fee commission from the banks for bringing them an excellent client. That's how it works. Okay. So
Okay.
I don't see why you will not go with a mortgage broker to help you along the way.
Right, because the client doesn't pay for the mortgage broker. The banks end up paying your commission.
Yeah, and you know, Kalie, we can give the client a lot of tips as we are talking here, important tips that usually the bank will not give you that. And sometimes you go for a specific branch or a specific manager that doesn't work well with foreigners. So I don't know, because of the language, because of lack of experience, they will give you a comfort letter that will not be the final approval. So this is the most important thing. So they will promise you one thing, and in the end, they will not deliver what they said. So this is the most let's say the biggest mistake that can happen in the process. And I never seen anything getting any accountability for that. It's just the risk department denied the 90% or the 80%. We can only give you 60%, but you already paid the 10% to the seller. You are in the middle of you have a deadline to match. So
and that is a big difference. If they promise 80% and then they say, oh, we can only do 60%, that's a big difference.
Exactly. It happens once. That's why I stopped to work with some banks, because in the past I was trying all the banks to see how are they MO. But with this kind of thing happen, I remember one clearly, a bank when they promised 80% and in the end they deliver 60%. So we have to rush to find another bank, and we could do that, but it's the kind of stress that is totally unnecessary. Okay, the process is stressed. Is very stressed already. You don't need an extra one.
Yeah, definitely. Okay,
It's very stressful already. But but I'm kidding. But if you have a good agent, a good broker, an excellent lawyer, of course it will be much less bumpy for sure.
Yeah, it can definitely be smooth because you have a team that helps you, especially since you don't it's buying in a different country if it's not your home country. So they at least know how it works and they can guide you through if something feels stressful, but it's like, okay, this is normal. And just communication is really big too.
Exactly, Kalie.
Yeah.
I think keeping the client informed is very important. Well, since the beginning, I try to give as much as information as possible. It's trying to but the majority of the processes are they go very good because the client trusts the process. Usually, they trust in me and my team, so the process usually goes very well.
Good.
It's a matter of trust the process.
Trust the process, yeah. Which can be hard if you're not, especially if you're buying from abroad as well. If you're not a resident living here in Portugal, trusting the process when you're far away can be harder.
Exactly. You have to trust that you are in good hands and we're doing the best possible to help you. You have to understand also that it's a different situation than when you buy a property. When you get a mortgage in your home country, because the bank can access your local credit, check with other banks, your everything. Here the bank doesn't have the right to check your life abroad, so they rely on only on these 6 or 7 documents that we mentioned. So of course it takes a little more time sometimes, but yeah, it's totally doable. And we are doing this very good right now, helping a lot of clients from abroad, non-residents and residents, and the foreigners are becoming much more residents right now.
Yeah, wanting to move
Yeah,
here. Yeah,
yeah,
I
they
mean,
are
because
coming
I do
for
know.
sure.
I do know some people who they can't move here right away, but they want to go ahead and purchase a property and then maybe rent it out or do something with it, or at least have it for a vacation home. So even if you're not ready to move from your home country, you don't have to be a resident, right? Just because you have your passport, you could buy a property and hold on to it until you're ready to move into it.
Exactly. So that's why I advise the clients. So especially with a lot of countries restricting access to mobility right now, we never know how long these conditions for financing abroad will be here. So it's a great option to finance with a good rate, open a bank account here. So if you're planning to retire in 5 or 10 years in Portugal, maybe it's a good option to buy now, put it for rent. The tenant will be paying your mortgage for 5 or 10 years. And then once you come, it will be more easy to get your visa because you have already a property in Portugal, you have an address in Portugal. So yeah, I think this is the best option right now, because we don't know how the conditions will be in 5 or 10 years. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And Portugal likes to change things a lot as well. So who knows what could
Like
change.
that,
So yeah. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
that.
Uh-huh. Yes. Okay. Well, Rafael, thank you so much for explaining mortgages and giving us an update today on interest rates. And for the listener, if you want to be put in touch with Rafael, if you're at all thinking about it, it's totally worth it because it's completely free to you. You might as well get a pre-approval and look into that. If you would like to get in touch with him, then you can email me at info@expatseverywhere.com, and I would be very happy to make that introduction, as we personally used Rafael and obviously had a great experience. And so we would definitely recommend him. And we know a lot of people, a lot of expats especially, who have used him and have had a really great experience. So if you're at all thinking about it, then you should definitely use him as well. Rafael, thank you.
Thank you, Kalie. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here again. And yeah, let's get on. How do you say? Let's get on moving.
Let's get moving.
Let's get moving. Yeah.